Okay.
That's fine.
Good evening, Thomas Edward Coughlin, who is a performance nutritionist and, most importantly, a badminton player.
Yes, well, I think badminton players up for debate these days, but once was,
Yeah.
and still quite interested
But
when I get back to it.
do you still think about badminton?
Well, it's one of those ones I used to be absolutely obsessed by it, but at the moment I'm just so busy with stuff that it's become a bit of a background thought. But I do sometimes. It actually tends to be when I'm in bed thinking
Yes,
about
that's what I
things,
mean.
and
That's a badminton player.
like it's something I'd love to get back to because it was such a big part of my life for such a long period.
Where are you from?
So, oh, here we go. So, born in London in 1992. Then I lived in the south of England in Sussex up until I think it was 2002 or 2003. Then I moved up to the west coast of Scotland, to the Isle of Islay.
Did you?
Spent my high school years there.
Why? Sorry. Why
Um,
did you move, Tom?
So it was my dad's work. So he's involved in whiskey, hence the big move. He was
Well,
involved in wine before that, and then whiskey. And there's only really one place to be if it's whiskey, and that's Isla.
wow.
So moved the whole family up.
How
Yeah,
amazing is
and been up
that?
in Scotland ever
How
since.
was that when you attend to move to an island like that? How when you left and were you that boy in tears in the back of the car on the way up? I don't want to go, or were you quite keen? What was that like?
It was an interesting one because I was at that stage where we were looking at where I would next go to high school.
Oh yeah, right, okay.
And so my friends that I was at school with at the time down south were all going to different places. And so for me, it was a bit of a more natural progression. We'd also been to either a couple of times before, so it wasn't that unfamiliar. I think for my sister, it was maybe a little bit harder because she was a couple of years older. So it was more like she was leaving her longer term
Yes.
friends. But yeah, I think it's worked out
So
well. Or I'd like to think so.
it was already you were kind of everybody was already being diluted at that age, and I know
Yeah,
what it's like at schools, and when you leave primary school that some go that way and some go that way, so you're just kind of a more of a statistic, and then yeah, and but it's tiny. What's Isla like?
well, it's incredibly rural.
Yeah.
It's changed a bit actually since I've been back a few times over the recent years. But at that point, there was just so much freedom for a young kid. Like you just go out and explore, and you've got no sort of safety issues apart from maybe falling in the sea. You just go and explore really. So yeah, it was great, and it certainly led to a few opportunities down my end. I mean, that was the reason why I started playing badminton. To be honest, was when we moved there, moved down to this tiny village in Portnahaven. I think there's about 40 people that live there year round.
Oh,
But there's a village hall, and that was right next to where the family house was. So I just popped over the road because there was a badminton club on, and
wow.
yeah, that was the start of it.
And was it one of those things kind of several nights a week kind of thing, or was there one of them where you got the keys and you can go when you wanted? Is it that kind of thing, or what was that like?
Yeah, it was more or less you could just go and grab the keys to the village hall whenever you
Oh,
wanted.
cool.
But formally, there was one club night a week down in Portnahaven. So there was 8 till 10 on a Monday. So even after high school, go come all the way back down, play badminton. Then there were a couple of other club nights as well throughout the week, just in the different villages. So I suppose that was quite nice on reflection.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds really cool. Like, let's go. I'm gonna go on with my traditional questions because I'm interested to
Hmm.
talk about nutrition and all that stuff as well. But I think it's Babin that you want to talk to. I was quite interested.
Hmm.
There was a story. Do you know? Did you see the Peter Sawkins interview at all?
Oh, the Bake Off.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did
Uh,
you watch that?
I did watch the Bake Off, and it was funny because me and my missus sit down every night it was on and watch it, and like oh, I like Peter, and said that he was a badminton
Yeah,
player,
yeah,
and he just popped up as a recommended friend on
yeah. He
Facebook as well.
will.
So I
Yeah, he
was
will.
like, oh, we must have just missed each other maybe when we were in university. So yeah, it's quite funny.
Yeah, he's. It was a good story, but this what amused me that still tickles me, and I don't know if anybody else finds it funny, but I spoke to Paddy. Paddy McHugh interviewed Pete.
Hmm.
Pete. So I think he kind of reached out to Pete. I think he saw mine. It was very soon after I interviewed him. Paddy reached out and said, "Would you come on for an interview, kind of thing?" And he said, "Yeah, okay." So he went on and interviewed him. So just imagine the scene, right? Peter Hawkins gets a message from Paddy McHugh, who's a ex Scotland national badminton
Mhm.
player, and of course he goes on and all he Peter had a similar conversation, such a similar had a conversation with Paddy where he says all he wanted to do was talk about badminton, and then Peter says all he wanted to do was talk about big.
Oh no!
It was the
Oh, especially during the lockdown as well, because everyone's gone baking
I
mad.
know it's
So
been
no
absolute.
doubt that's what he wanted to
Well,
talk about.
exactly, but of course you get a Scottish national on the phone. All you want to do is talk about
Mm.
badminton and how much you love it. What was it like to play against that? And he's asking questions from Kirsty Gilmore about what was his favourite scone. So funny. So I think I know what your full name is, Thomas Edward Coughlin.
Yes.
Do you are you Tom?
Yeah. Just whatever, really, whatever
That's what
suits.
I call. So what age are you, Tom?
So I'm 28.
28, cool. And so your home area originally was London, and then so you central London, then Sussex. Yeah, so if you moved about a bit, was it always your dad's work from Sussex, from London to Sussex, and then
Yeah, that was the main driver of us moving. So I mean, the biggest move was definitely up to Isla, and
yeah,
then after that, it was just sort of further education that dictated where I was. So I went up to Perth for a year.
oh, did you?
That was when I started taking badminton a bit more
Was it?
seriously. I was at the 20 club
Oh, were
there,
you?
so Dan was there, Aileen, and a few
And
others.
my
So
brother
potentially,
Barry.
but yes, yes,
That's my brother.
I
Yeah,
remember Barry well.
yeah. Barry Hargrave is my brother. Yeah. So but I played in the Perth 21, so I went there one night. I think it's not very handy for
Mhm.
me. I live in Peebles, I suppose, but I
Yeah.
worked in Livingston, so I used to, yeah, occasionally. It's not actually that bad. Perth's okay. So where
Mhm.
did you go? Why were you in Perth? Why were you in Perth?
I went to college for a year,
What did you?
so it's one of those instances where you don't quite get the grades that you wanted to in high school. So I didn't get into uni straight
Yeah,
away, and then went to college
in
in Perth
Perth.
for a year, and
Did you?
then after that got into uni. So that was Stirling
Were you?
at that
Were
point.
you? Was that a sports thing? Was it you were just mad on sport and you didn't know what
Hmm.
kind of just wanted to play sport all the time and you weren't really a studious and you thought I don't know what I want. I love sport. Was that the thing about
Yeah,
studying?
100%. I always knew I wanted to be involved in sport in some capacity. Whether it was the dream of playing that got quickly extinguished as I
I
left
doubt
Isla
it.
out my little bubble.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, it was those sports coaching and development of sport as an HNC
Oh really?
in Perth. So yeah, after doing that, that then allowed me to go and do sports and psychology at Stirling. So
Wow.
went down that route, and then nutrition after that.
That's really good, isn't it? That you've actually. So what age were you when you finally said I'm going to go to Perth? What age were you then?
So, ooh, good question. So I think I was 17 when I moved out there, just by myself, in with
Really?
someone that was
Really? At
yeah,
17?
just sharing a flat.
Wow.
So I moved. I did. To be fair, I didn't really look after myself in the best way. It was probably a question of, or yeah, I didn't really know how to look after myself at that
At
point. To be
17, who
honest, moving
does?
from Isla to Perth, oh, I
Oh
know.
yeah,
On reflection, it was horrendous. Just getting
yeah.
takeaways and all sorts
Was
all
that
the time.
really,
So yeah, I ended up getting well, on reflection, I was probably quite out of shape at that point,
really?
and
Yeah.
when I got to Stirling, I went through, let's say, a bit of a fitness drive, and
Yes.
I think that was half the reason why I got involved in nutrition.
Wow.
Just, I suppose, doing the same thing with yourself and OBS, just looking at how to do things, trying to improve myself, and yeah, I suppose that's led me to where I am just now.
And what was the driver? Was there a catalyst? Was there something that was there somebody that you spoke to? Was there somebody that you knew that had done it? Was there somebody that you'd seen? Or was there something you'd followed online?
Hmm.
What was it that do you remember what it was that kind of a light the kind of the nutrition thing? It
Hmm.
fascinates me that why how you got there.
I think confidence was a big thing. So I just wanted to get in shape, and when you're going into uni, you're in quite a quite a pressurized environment, I suppose. You've
Really?
got all these sort of social pressures on you, and you just wanted to. Well, I certainly got a lot of confidence from training my sport and also just improving there. So I suppose that was the main driver for me getting my nutrition in order. But even back then, like compared to what I know now, I was doing ridiculous stuff back then, but it was still better than what I was
Than
doing
you were doing.
originally. So yeah, just
Good
those
stuff.
small improvements.
And what did you study at Stirling?
I did sports and psychology. So initially went in to do
Mm.
just sports studies because again I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then I started doing the psychology modules alongside. I then changed into a joint honours where I focused a lot on the sports science modules and psychology. So two dissertations in my final year. And then towards that sort of third and fourth year, that's when I really wanted to go into nutrition as my sort of further education for my master's. So ended up going down to Loughborough after that
Or did
for a
you?
year.
And how was that? In Stirling and that kind of thing, was that focus on specific pursuits?
Uh, so with regards to sport,
Hmm.
it was always badminton with me.
Was it?
It was a crazy amount of
Like I'm talking, I guess I'm thinking
times that
about
we
the
trained.
nutrition side. The
Mm.
part of the course itself. Would they say a nutrition plan for different pursuits? Is that a thing? Does that happen, or is it a general thing, or is it if you
I
want to?
suppose, yeah, it's more sort of general and just focusing on the basics of your sort of macronutrients, why they're important for certain things, and it's all research based as well. And there's very limited research within badminton. There's a
Yeah.
lot in endurance sports, so I suppose a lot of it focused on that kind of area. But yeah, it was just we had one module in particular in third year that I really loved. It's the only time I've ever done the extra reading for a module off
Really,
my own back. And
really, yeah.
I went out to the lecturers and I was like, look, is there anything else I can do to read more about this? Because I just absolutely loved it. So I suppose that's where the passion really started building from.
And how was Loughborough? How was that different? So you'd already been at Stirling for how long?
So 4 years at
Wow.
Stirling,
You look.
playing a lot of badminton. Yeah, so it was must
Is
have
that how you know
been
Jennifer
uh,
Ferguson?
yes, yeah, and that's how I ended up at the club that I've
Really?
only ever been to sort of one and a half
Because you had a
times
little bit.
before I got
Because you had a
injured.
little bit. Because you
Oh,
had a little bit of a sore thumb.
I know it's the most ridiculous injury in the world. It's just something so insignificant, but it's only over the past couple of months. So I can't even remember when I first came in, but it must have been healing
Remind
for
me what it was.
about
Remind
eight
me what it
months.
was. I just remember you had a little bit of a sore thumb. So like,
I remember you kept asking me, "You coming on to the club?" I was like, "Sorry,
I'm
my
sorry, I've
thumb's
got a sore thumb
absolutely
at the
screwed."
moment.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I, by the
so
way,
it's one of the.
I've heard every excuse. I
I know, but the thing was like
I
that.
know you love it.
It's almost too ridiculous of an excuse to
What was
use
it?
it as
What
a
was it?
joke.
What happened?
So it was. So we were in Georgia for the World Cup warm-up games in
Right.
2019, and they were doing this drill where the nines were kicking, doing their box kicks, and there was another drill going on. On reflection, it was ridiculous the way they set it up. I'm
Right.
going to use that as a bit of an excuse, but there were a number of management that had to go in and try and catch all these balls. So there's balls flying everywhere, people going all over the place, people running. And then one of these balls came flying down. It was properly spinning and just donked
No way.
straight on the end of my thumb. So it was like a bit of a stave, but I had some pretty bad ligament damage with it.
Wow.
And because you don't really use your
No.
thumb
No.
that often, you
See,
quite limited
my
blood
thumb's
flow. So
double
it took just
jointed.
such a
My
long
thumb is
period of
double
time.
jointed, so it would pro.
Oh, so you would have
So I
been
would have been fine,
fine.
I
You should
reckon.
have been
I
catching
should
those
that
balls.
should have been me. Did you do an accident at work like you're falling off a ladder? Did it where there's
No,
you
I
should
think
have done it where
no,
there's
I would have got abuse
you
for that.
definitely should have done it where there's blame there's a claim.
Um,
Just for the hell of it, you should have done to be fair.
oh
My
dear,
goodness, I hurt my thumb,
but
but
ridiculous.
sounds serious though. You actually had ligament damage from it. Wow.
Yeah, so it was just so annoying. Like even so you just move it in a particular way
Yes.
and it would be sore and just
Oh, I can
aching
imagine.
for about sort of 7 months. And so when I came back, so I did come to the club actually after I'd had that injury, because I was like, right, I want to actually see if I
Yeah,
can play, even if it is sore. And so forehand shots were absolutely fine because you don't
it's
really use
true.
your thumb too much. You sort of wrap it round, but anything on the
Yeah,
backhand, and that was the only thing
because
I
you
was
put
ever good
pressure on
at
it.
badminton was
Was that?
backhand. Oh my god, it was just
Yeah,
unbearable. So I think I played about 2 games, and I was like, look,
you
I
can't
can't
do
play.
this.
So
That's absolutely.
that was the end of my
Was it
badminton
never in a
career right
cast
there.
or anything? Do you never have any? What do you call it?
So I had it strapped by one of our physios. I think that's one of the really beneficial things about working in my area is you've got physios and docs just floating around
All the
everywhere. So
time.
if you need a little bit of
Yeah.
treatment, you can sort of sneak in between players, which is nice. But yeah, I had it strapped a bit, but they were just like, look, it's just going to take time rather than any specific sort of rehab program. I was like moving it around and stuff,
Is it
but
perfectly all right
yeah,
now? It's totally like
ridiculous.
it's nothing. It's perfectly all right now.
Well, it feels okay, but I haven't played
No,
badminton since
but like if you
then,
press down
or
on it,
like
if you
used
press
it.
down on it, is that
Yeah,
sore? Is it
it's
all
all
right?
right.
Is it quite strong now?
No, it feels okay. So fingers
Yeah, good.
crossed. It will be all right going
Yeah.
forward. But a ridiculous injury. The amount of times I really thought, like, why was I catching that ball over
It's
that
one of them,
period
isn't it?
was
It's just one
horrific.
of those freak accidents. You think, what was I doing? Did you hear the interview
I
with
know.
Colin Leslie?
Colin, no, I didn't hear that
Colin
one.
Leslie's
No.
a para badminton player.
Yeah, I think I played against him at the Nationals one time.
Well, if you watch his interview, you'll find out how he became a double amputee. And he
Hmm.
was coming down a ladder, having removed some ivy from a drain, from a guttering. He was a landscape gardener with his dad, and he was coming down the ladder,
Yeah.
and he got down to his dad's shoulder height, and he
Uh huh.
said to his dad, "Would you get out of the way? If I'm going to get off the ladder, you're going to have to get out of the way." And his dad moved away,
Yeah.
and the ladder slipped, and he lost both his legs.
Oh, jeez.
Over the space of 2 years, he
Oh,
lost
yeah.
both of his legs, and he became a double. You know, he
Oh.
went through a very bad time, but he picked himself up and he goes back on court. And now the end of the interview is really interesting because he talks about technology in his legs,
Mm.
and he talks about his
Hmm.
first ones were like this, and then it had a wooden foot, and I had to screw it on. He says I was literally playing badminton. Really honest interview, amazing. Yeah, well, I
Hmm.
actually when I went to play badminton, I had a wooden foot and it was screwed onto my thing. And he said, of course, now it's the
Yeah.
technology is amazing. It's like
Oh, it's
graphite and the
crazy.
joints and the metals and
Hmm.
the alloys and the foot is this kind
Hmm.
of rubber. And my favorite question obviously was, what size shoe do you take? And and he's a nine. He's a nine. I said I would have chosen.
Nine. There
I
you
would
go.
have chosen the biggest foot you could get, or any shoes. I would have chosen any foot. If you're getting the best deal you could see, you just go to Sports Direct and see what's on offer, and you just like literally probably
Yeah.
change them. I don't think it works like that.
Yeah. There you
But
go.
so
Sorted.
anyway, that was a yeah. But the point is, it's just a freak thing. A
Yeah.
freak thing.
Well, good on Colin for
Oh,
getting
hugely.
through that. I think he's done a phenomenal job with
Some player.
para badminton, especially up
Oh,
here. Yeah.
some player, and he tells some good stories. He's got some very funny stories where he fell off the back. Oh God, I'm spoiling it for you. He fell off the back of a court. He sort of lost their balance and fell over onto a group of dwarf players. And he said he fell like
Oh,
skittles. It's so inappropriate, but it was
oh
funny.
no.
He said it was hilarious. Everybody was laughing.
I'll have to
So
go
I
back
could
and
say,
watch that
yeah, it's
one.
good. So your home area, I've got that. Your brothers and sisters. You've got one sister who's 2 years older. And where's she about,
Hmm.
Tom? Is she local?
So she moved down to London for a bit after high school, and now she's back on Isla
No
in the
way.
house that my mum used to be in. So yeah, she's back there, child minding. So yeah, she's doing a brilliant job over there.
Wow. So she probably had that thing of you moved me to London. You moved me from London to Isla. How dare you? That's it. As soon as I
Yeah,
can, I'm going back to London. She did, and now she comes back to
yeah.
Isla. I like that a lot. Um, what age do you first played? Did you say 10? Did you say?
So it must have been sort of 10 or 11. I think I might have had the occasional hit about in the garden with my gran,
Really?
like way back in the day. But in terms of actually playing with proper shuttles and rackets, yeah, it would have been that ten
So do
or
you have
eleven.
family that played?
So my gran used to
Really?
play back in the day, and that's what my dad said my skill was down to was just my
Brilliant.
gran, whether that is an inherited thing or not. But and the limited skill that I do have,
Not at all.
whatever it
That's
is, it came
good.
from her. So yeah,
But your dad didn't play.
No, he came a couple of times to
Club,
the
yeah.
village hall to play. But I was at that age where I just used to get annoyed because he couldn't really get around the court as well as I did. His shot on reflection was
Yeah.
absolutely horrible,
You were a
but
moody
yeah,
teenager.
it was good.
Dad, you're rubbish.
Oh,
Yeah.
terrible! Exactly. No, it was actually.
Do you remember your first racket? There's a question.
Yeah, so my first proper racket, Yonex Armatech 300. It made me laugh when I got that question through because that is the one thing I do remember. One of the players in Isla High School had one. I sort of looked up to him for a bit, and I
Really?
was like, I'm going to play as well as
Who
him
was he? What was
because I'm going to
what
get the
was his
same
name?
racket. So his name was Ian. I can't remember his second name, but everyone called him Tonto.
Okay.
So I just wanted the same racket as Tonto. That
And
was it.
was he a
That's
couple,
the reason why I
was he older
started
than you?
using that.
Also, how many other people went to that club?
So that was so down in Port Haven, that was very small. That was probably about 6 people down there. Just the one court, beams across. You see the sort of churches leagues in Glasgow that I played in for a year, and it's that same sort of thing. Just beams across,
Nice.
tiny
Yes.
ceilings, hit the roof, point away. So everything was just flat and
Yeah.
hard the entire time.
Oh, I tell you, it brings on a good
So
backhand. That brings on a good backhand. A low ceiling is good
yeah,
for your backhand, I think.
that must have been it. So
A
maybe we should
driving
do that in
backhand,
terms of like training our young players. Just get them really low
definitely,
ceilings and be sorted.
definitely.
Yeah.
So,
So there was maybe about 6 people at that one, and then with the bigger club up in Beaumont, which is the capital of Isla,
yes.
there was enough to fill four
Oh,
courts
good.
in doubles. No singles on
Uh,
Isla. No, it's a ridiculous question. No
really?
singles at all. It was just
Why is that?
doubles.
Because everybody was there a
That's
lot of
it.
older people, or was it playing, or
Yeah, pretty
what was
much.
that? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think the only time we ever played singles was when we were in the high
Yeah.
school team. In fact, the first time I think I ever played singles was in the Argyll and Butte Schools
Okay.
Championships. I was like, what the hell is this?
Really?
It was just unbelievable. I played a left-handed player for the first time,
Really?
and he absolutely demolished me.
He's left-handed. How many times did you do that? He's
Yeah,
left-handed.
I was like, I can't play him. He's using the wrong hand. I don't understand.
Stop playing on his backhand. It's his forehand. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
How many times do you say that? Oh, God. The first club you went to, what was it? What was it called? Do you know the club?
Oh well, I suppose the Isle of Badminton Club, but really the first official one would have been Perth 20.
Yeah, what was that?
Oh no, actually, I was at a different one before for a bit that was in the sort of second division of
Oh,
Perthshire
really?
Badminton. I
Don't
can't
think I've
remember
heard that.
exactly what the name of it was,
But
but
I do know there's another
I
one.
went
Yeah.
along. Yeah, I went along to that one, but yeah, Perth 20, I suppose, was the main
Really?
one.
So you
Yeah.
didn't really go into. So do you think you developed a lot as a player after leaving Isla?
Well, it's a funny one because high school championships in Argyll and Butte, which is when I played that left-handed player. Myself and my best friend from back on Isla, Kevin, we both arrived at Isla at the same time because both of
Really?
our dads were involved in whiskey,
Really?
and we
They're
both
both drunks,
absolutely
were they?
loved sport. Yeah, well,
They're
potentially.
both involved in
No
whiskey.
comment.
Yeah.
uh, but
Sorry, Dad.
yeah, we both absolutely love sport. So we got on like a house on fire, and we were always playing together. He was my doubles partner through and through. We went to the Argyll and Butte Championships, and we got absolutely hammered first year, like unbelievably. But then the year after,
Mm.
we were going to win it in the final of the men's doubles, but we had to leave because the ferry was going back,
No.
and we were planning on going back on that specific ferry, so we had tickets booked because everyone thought, oh, we'll just get absolutely hammered. But we got through to the
Mm.
final, and then couldn't play the final because we had to get on the ferry and go back,
Oh my
which
God.
was absolutely horrendous. But from there, something happened during that period of time where we were just playing more, and we just absolutely loved badminton through and through. I actually learned probably the most uh, of my sort of technique and everything from watching YouTube videos back in the day.
Really? Really?
That was it because we didn't have a coach.
Yeah,
So
of course.
that was it.
Well, there was
Just
nobody that
making the
coached
most
on the
of
island
video.
at all.
No, there was a couple of quite good players. David Brody and who was the other one? Something Scott. They were both very good, but they just didn't play. And we sort of tried to get them to coach us a couple of times,
Yeah,
but it never worked out. So had no coaching, but ended up winning this
yeah.
winning the Argyll and Bute Schools Championships. And then we got to the quarterfinals of the Scottish schools as well,
Yeah, well,
which was pretty good
that's
actually on
good. It's
reflection
awesome
without
from
any
such a
coaching.
rural place, and you kind of
Yeah.
isn't that? And so, and where in Argyll, where are the popular places for? Where would majority of players come from?
Loch Gilphead and
All right,
Oban with the biggest
Oban.
ones, because a lot of people, especially from Loch Gilphead, used to travel through to Glasgow to play every week,
Yeah,
which is a big trip, but
yeah.
certainly worth it. Whereas we didn't really have that luxury unless we got on a plane.
Do you know Bruce
So,
Aiken?
Bruce Aiken, that the name rings a bell.
He's
I
open.
probably
He's
would.
open. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
open, and he was one of the first interviews I did. Actually, he was just talking about people coming from Fort William to Oban for their club nights and that kind of thing,
yeah.
and just yeah, I
The
just
rural Scottish badminton. You've got to be pretty committed.
oh, it's serious. It's very serious. Like he was on talking about, oh, it starts at 8 o'clock, and people from Fort William would get up, and you home at. To be fair, I live in Peebles, and it's about 40 minutes from Edinburgh, and I play in the middle of Edinburgh,
Yeah.
and I work in Livingston, which is only about 10 miles away from where it's
Uh-huh.
on. So
Yeah.
that's actually not it's not too, but it's kind of the same. I get home at 11 o'clock at night. I leave for work in the morning at 7. I come home at 11 at night.
Oh,
It's
geez.
pretty committed.
Straight to bed.
Yeah, it's pretty much straight to bed. Yeah, the wife normally shouts at me for a bit, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's okay. So okay, let's go back to questions. Do you remember how much badminton cost? Was it a thing, or you not bothered a quid a night or something like that? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was something so small over there. I did get a bit of a shock when I came to the mainland to play because they're like, oh, it's £140 for the year as a student. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? That's like 3 rackets. I think it was a couple of quid
I
maybe
was going to ask you
for
about your racket.
every night.
I think I got distracted. I was going to ask you about your racket. Why did you have the net?
Mhm.
Oh, you said that was because Kevin. That's what Kevin had. That you really looked up
So
to.
it's
Is that
what
right?
the guy Tonto, that's what he had.
Tonto.
It was that, and like that was. It's funny because the reason why I got that racket was because he had it, and it was a head heavy racket. And from then on, throughout my whole
Life.
badminton career, I just wanted to play with a head heavy racket because
Really?
that's what I was used to. But it just seems like he could have had any racket, and I would have
You definitely could have.
gone that and kept that all the way through. So
Yeah, you've
pretty strange.
It's yeah, it's fantastic. And where would you buy rackets on Isla? Was there just online or something, or would there a sport
So
shop or something?
I bought racket. The only time I think I ever bought rackets was when we came over to the Sederman Cup in 2007 that was in Glasgow, and I bought a racket then, and it would have been at competitions before then. So yeah, just picking them up there because
Yeah.
the internet wasn't in the way that it is where you get everything next day, especially on Isla. No one really delivered over there.
And did you play at the Coburn Centre?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was the first official sort of senior competition I went to. Was the West of Scotland Open. I remember playing Gordon Thompson in the first round. I had one like good deceptive shot that could get everyone straight away. He served, deceptive shot, won the point, and that was I think the only point I won the entire time.
It's great, though, isn't it? It's great. It must have been something to walk in the Coburn Centre, having come from Isla, and you walk into these facilities and go, "Wow!"
Uh-huh.
Quite.
Yeah. Well, the Coburn Centre is a funny one because you're driving through Govan. You think that there can't be like some kind of official Scottish badminton facility here. Then you drive around the back of this warehouse, you think this is definitely wrong. Go up the stairs with that massive beeper on. I remember that used to absolutely scare the crap out of me whenever that thing went off. I was like, oh God, it's serious now. Walk up and you're like, this unbelievable facility. I remember so on Isla, the courts in the high school, there was this much gap between the rear of the court and the wall. So going into one of these facilities was like nothing you'd ever seen before. you're playing like, oh my god, this is something else.
I know, nice. The shuttles you used on Isla, what were they?
I think now this is testing my knowledge here. I think Yonex Mavis 300 plastic
Yes,
shuttles.
yes, that's my favorite.
If that's correct, that's pulled out
When
of
was the
nowhere.
last time
That
you
is.
played with the Mavis 300?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe back then, before,
I'm thinking
yeah,
I'm
before I
already
left.
thinking about buying a tube now. I'm
Yeah.
gutted because I just the feeling of getting a new one.
Uh,
Feather shuttles are so disposable. They're just it's just another one. It's just a feather
the
scrub.
amount of money you go through
But a
in feather
Mavis
shuttles.
300, you look at that and think, wow, that's gonna last like a week.
Yeah, you get one of those, but then you get the Mavis 370s as
Oh,
well
I
with
don't
like
remember them.
the red tape around,
Oh
and
no,
they were slightly faster, or apparently flew more like a feather shuttle.
really? I've
And when
never
we
heard
had
of
those, oh my, they were something else. You could smash it so hard.
them. I'll need to look out for them. I'm gonna take a note. Mavis 370s. That's new on me. That one.
Mavis 370. I think that's what it was.
Was that like a? Is that like a?
Plastic shuttle expert.
Is that like a red dot in squash? Isn't it a red dot ball? The fast ones. Yeah.
Oh, potentially, yeah, the fast ones,
Yeah.
the good ones.
And so tell me about your first coaching.
So there were a couple of residential badminton camps that were set on by Badminton Scotland over in Argyll. That was at Largs. Um,
Yes.
so Rita was the coach there,
Oh, was she?
and I remember. It was about a week that we were there. So there must have been a good amount of us, but the amount of shadowing that we did was
She's hardcore.
just
Rita is
oh
hardcore.
yeah,
Have you been watching her
oh
videos
yeah.
on YouTube?
I've seen a couple of
Have
them.
you?
Yeah,
Fast as you
jeez,
can. Fast as you can. I
yeah.
love it. I love
I remember doing that and doing the warm ups with your fingers as well. I was like, oh my god,
it.
what's happening? This is punishment. But that's honestly because we did all those footwork drills. That's half the reason why I could probably still play today is
Yes.
because it just got ingrained in me.
Yes.
My technique was terrible, but my footwork was okay,
Yeah.
and my backhand was all right because of the low ceilings. So that's essentially
Yeah.
me as a player rounded up.
That's it's good though, isn't it? The badminton camp is something I've spoke about before that I would have always loved. I always wanted to go to a badminton camp, like go
Hmm.
for a week and just play. That was like my dream growing up, like going
Yeah,
somewhere for a week and just playing badminton, getting up, having breakfast, go and play badminton for 4 hours, have lunch, play badminton in
yeah.
the afternoon, and then yeah, that was my
Then coaching's over, and then you just go and play some more because that's what you enjoy doing.
yeah, amazing. My sister she went to Loughborough
Mhm.
and she went to do I don't actually know what she went to do, to be honest with you. But I remember her going, and it was very of a vivid memory of a. We played badminton a lot growing up, right?
Mhm.
And we had, she always wanted to. Excuse me, I'll fix this. She always wanted to. She loved playing badminton. She was one of them who
Mhm.
loved playing badminton. What do you want to do? Don't know. I just know I love playing badminton. And when she went to
Mhm.
Loughborough, she got up in the morning and went and played badminton, and then got home at night and went, what do you do, kind of thing. When you've spent your
Uh-huh.
life just playing badminton for fun, and then when you go somewhere and you just do it all day long, when you come home,
Uh-huh.
and I think she was at a loss, and so it didn't work out. But I think there must be a lot of that people that just there's certainly a lot of people that are saying I don't really know what else I want to do. All I know is I love badminton, and I'm going to go
Yep.
and do something of that nature. I had an interesting
Uh-huh.
conversation with who was the Welsh I've interviewed so many people, I'm forgetting. Anyways, Welsh, and he moved from Wales. Lyndon Williams, do you know that? Did you see that
Mhm.
video? So
Mhm.
he was in Wales, and he was growing up, and he just heard there was really good badminton in London.
London.
Apparently there's really good badminton in London. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move to London, and the streets are paved with shuttlecocks apparently in London. So he just went, and I said, "What do you do about money?" He said, "I don't know." He says, "We didn't really do anything." He says, "You just went and kind of signed on and just went and played badminton with really exceptionally good badminton players because it's all we
Yeah.
wanted to do. We just loved that." And
Fair
it's
enough.
great. It was quite interesting. That was back in the day. He's about my age. So Rita was your first coach
Yeah, so the first coach for that,
for that for
and then
the yeah.
I suppose the
And
first
Dan was
proper
there.
long
Dan
term
was there as well,
coaching.
was he?
Yeah,
Was he?
so he was at when we went to Stirling Uni. So
Was he
I started at Stirling Uni at the same time Dan started coaching there,
really?
and so that was the first sort of routine coaching
Really?
that I had.
And okay, so
Yeah,
here's a
so
question: what did you learn? What was the? Is there anything? Is there a golden nugget?
from Dan,
Yeah,
the golden nugget from Dan for me, would be stop trying all these fancy shots.
really, really,
That was it every time.
really.
So I was reasonably so I
It's
suppose
kind of
this goes
you talking about
into,
the easy winners, kind of you can play a
oh
shot
no,
which will finish it quickly.
the players that I loved watching were like Peter Gade, Taufik Hedayat, all the guys that played all the amazing fancy shots. And so every time I was on court, I wanted to do something similar. That was why, even around the sort of Scottish scene, yeah, you see Matt Carter play unbelievable with all that kind of stuff. And I suppose Danny Leinster as well. You see all these shots, like, oh, I want to try that. And then Dan used to see me trying all this stuff when my level's down here. He's like, just play sensibly,
Yeah.
just play the easy shots. So I was quite fit, because if I actually did that, then I'd probably be
Yes,
okay. But
yes.
I'd just get to a point where my technique had just let me down. I'd just be like, right, I'll just try something ridiculous, because I can't be asked playing singles anymore.
There's a golf coach in Peebles, Craig Imler, who used to say if you went to a lesson with him, he would say, my friend went for lessons with him, and he would say, don't try and hit a good shot all the time, eh? Don't try and catch all the, basically, don't try and kill it. Just play steady. Just play
Yeah,
steady.
yeah,
Just
just
that.
play
And I think
steady.
that Loan, I don't know if you know Loan in Edinburgh, he gave me a tips in singles. He says, stop trying to do it. It doesn't need to be that tight. It doesn't need to be that
Hmm.
tight. You know, it can be a foot over
Yeah.
the net. Nobody's going to kill it playing singles. They will just, just
Hmm.
try and play out the rally. But unfortunately, as you get unfitter, I would say you
Hmm.
probably get lazier, and you well not lazier. You're just desperate to try and finish it quicker. So you're just trying to think, right? If I
Yeah.
do this, if I do that, and I think it's just a laziness thing. For me, well,
Hmm.
for me it is. I look,
Yeah. No, it's 100% for me as
yeah.
well.
How can I finish it quicker? And you get some players that just you feel that they would go, and we see the rallies, don't you, on YouTube? You
Hmm.
think that they could go on all night. These
Oh,
guys, and and
honestly,
then
that was another tip from Dan. Actually, I remember listening to a an interview of him on the radio when we were driving over to the Sudirman Cup, and something he said always remained with me, and will probably always remain with me for the rest of my life, was to be a top level singles player, you've got to puke in the bucket every day
really,
for the amount of effort that you got to put in.
yeah,
So I think that
really,
fueled a lot of my sort of fitness and
really.
having that ringing in the back of my mind. But
If you're not
yeah, I didn't
absolutely,
puke in the bucket every
if you're
day.
not actually busting it, you're not really trying hard enough, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's good.
That's a quote from Dan Travers, amongst a lot of other quotes that I won't mention on this. Was when he was our badminton coach at Stirling.
Really, he'll come on eventually, Dan. Again.
He will.
He knows
We'll,
I've
we'll
asked it.
we'll peer pressure him
Oh,
into it. We've still got
don't.
good links with him at the Stirling Badminton Club, so we'll get that hashtag trending.
Don't. Yeah, come on, Dan. That's all we need. Your first trophy.
That would have been the Argyle and Butte, or no, sorry, the Mid Argyle under-17s doubles. That was the first one we won officially after not getting the win at the schools championship. So myself and Kevin were 14 at the time, and we won
Did
that
you
one.
17s? Well, that was good, wasn't it? That was really good. It really sounds like you've got a lot better since you've left Isla.
Oh yeah, massively.
Really?
I think well, just when you're in such a closed
Yes.
off environment, there's only a certain level that you can get
Mm.
to. And I remember all the players saying back then, the ones that were really skillful, when we first came to the clubs in Bamor, when there's, I don't know, like 24 people there or something, they were unbelievable. And we were trying to aspire to be as good as them. We just kept going, kept
Yeah.
going, and to the point where we overtook them, and we were quite good.
Yeah.
And helping other people
Yeah.
progress underneath us.
Yeah.
But
Everybody's
yeah,
got a
there's only a
target.
certain level you can get
Everybody's
to.
got somebody to push
Yeah.
to, haven't they?
Hmm.
It's and was that? Do you think one of the drivers to go originally to Perth was about the badminton? Do you think?
It was on the radar because the Scottish Schools Championship was at the Bell Centre,
Yes.
so I knew of that area and I knew it was pretty good for badminton.
Yeah,
So I suppose, yeah, that was one of the reasons.
yeah, be part of your thinking. And who? Sorry, go back to. I think you answered this question, but who was your main competition growing up? Do you think, Tom?
Well,
I think it's. I think
competition
you've already
wise,
answered it. I
I'm
think
not
there's
sure.
Tonto. I think Tonto is the. I'm putting down
Yeah,
Tonto.
possibly back in the day.
Tonto. I'm going
I,
for
I
Tonto.
I think my answer to that on the questionnaire was I didn't really have any particular someone that I was really competitive against,
Really,
but I'd always get hammered by Matthew Carter in every
really.
competition that I played
I'll
in,
take that.
every time.
He's very good. Yeah,
If I got one deceptive shot on him, then I was happy.
yeah,
That was it.
yeah.
I think my best was in the it must have been the under 21s nationals, and there was like three people that entered, so it was like a straight semi-final, which was great for my ranking. Um, but so I think I got 12-10 against him or
Yeah.
something, and I was like, oh, that's
How have
quality.
you got?
That's so
How have you
good.
got on with Kieran
Kieran
Merrilees?
Merrilees, I don't think I ever played
Didn't
him.
you?
Thank God, that would have been really bad.
Yeah.
I think I only got 12 off Matthew because he kept hitting shots out. He was having one of those
That's Dan
days.
would tell you that's part of the tactics. That's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
You let them make the mistakes. Exactly right. So I'll just leave. We'll go on your current. I think we've been on for was that 40 minutes now? My goodness, been great.
Oof.
So what do you think? Where do you play now? It's what your club would. You live in Edinburgh now, are you?
Yeah, so moved through for work,
Yeah.
and obviously, well, I
Where were
knew
you living?
Jenny.
Sorry,
She
where were you
came to
living?
the
When you moved through from Stirling to into Edinburgh for work? Was it straight from
so
uni
from
or
Stirling. I was down at Loughborough for
Loughborough?
a year, then moved back up to
Did you?
Glasgow because my missus was at Strathclyde Uni.
Right.
So moved there, lived in the Merchant City for a bit, started playing badminton again with the must have been the police team
All
actually
right.
through there at the Cockburn
Nice.
Centre, just through people that I knew from Stirling
Yeah,
Uni.
cool.
So yeah, lived there and then moved through here for
For the rugby.
yeah, for work.
For the rugby. Oh, for the rugby.
Yeah.
Do you play rugby?
Back in the
Did you?
day, I played rugby, but that was like before we moved up. So, how much do you actually play when you're 9 years
Yeah.
old? It was a big rugby school that I was at. Always aspirations to
I'm the
continue to
same.
play, but never really panned out. Moved to Ireland. There's not enough people to have a rugby team, so
Yeah.
started playing badminton instead.
And I guess the thing about working the SIU, I guess you've got pretty good access to the gym, right?
Yeah, pretty good access. That's one of the things at the moment with our training
Mm.
schedule. So we've been pretty full on from the Autumn Nations Cup through to the Six Nations. There was a few weeks off over Christmas and then straight back in. They're all using the gym, and it's essentially like a private facility up at Oriam.
So,
So there are some optional gym sessions, and we can sneak in there sometimes and
yeah.
get in a session. But it's a lot of training at home in the mornings for me at the
Yeah,
moment.
but I think everybody's doing what they can. Hopefully, it's gonna
Hmm.
get better. And what's your day to day? What is it like? How involved are you with? I mean, nutrition is it's a mystery to me, to be honest with you. What you do as a job. So, talk me through what you do.
Yeah, so with the so my role when the national team in camp, I'm full time in there. So it's a lot of facilitation in terms of just making sure all the meals are absolutely spot on, making sure there's shakes and everything done at appropriate times, snacks, making sure there's food pretty much everywhere.
Really? Hmm.
And then it's chatting to the players as well, sort of one on one, helping them. It's pretty full on with you've got so we've got a squad of 39 at the moment, and then we've got 22 management as well. So you've got a massive squad of people that you're doing stuff for, because it's not just the players that I have to worry about. It's the management, and they're the difficult ones
Really?
most of the time. So it's pretty long days. You're up at so my usual schedule at the moment. I'm up at 5 o'clock, and then I'll get my workout in at
Yeah.
that point at home, because that's really the only free time that I get during the day. So get in, start off, set up all the areas that I need to, all the snacks tables, get all the water sorted,
Wow.
check in with the hotel, and then you keep on going, and then you sort of get finished at about 7 at
Wow.
night. Um, And then obviously those days sort of extend when you get through to a game as well. So
I guess
yeah, it's
there's a
pretty
lot
full on.
obviously has changed in rugby. I mean, I was watching on the TV the other day, and if you went back 10, 15 years and saw a rugby team, they're a different animal to what they are now, right? And I guess that's a lot of
Yeah,
credit down to
massively.
people like you and the discipline that they have to kind of go on. And how is it? I wonder how that's changed. How did that? When did that happen? Who flicked a switch and said, no, you can't be like that anymore. You need to be, you need to eat this. And also, I'm quite interested to know how you go about when somebody's in front of you. That's one thing, isn't it? Obviously you've got the influence, but
Mhm.
there's a big psychological thing of kind of I guess teaching people what's right and what's wrong, and them knowing that in themselves, because there's got to be a lot of self-discipline, I suppose. It's not just about what you put in
Mhm.
front of them, right? In fact, that's a little bit probably of it, is it? I mean,
Yeah,
how
100%. So there's so many drivers of behavior. The main one that I try and use in the national team camp is controlling the environment as much as possible. And especially during COVID, we're in our own little bubble, and the guys are in the hotel or have been locked up in the hotel for a long period of time.
okay,
So I can control pretty much everything
right,
that's there. And your choices are mostly made up of what's available to you. So I always use the example of you're sitting on the couch with your partner and they bring out some biscuits or something. You're way more likely to eat them just because they're there and they're within arm's distance. So it can negatively influence people, their environment a lot of the time. You
I
see
see,
sweets at the checkouts as well in supermarkets.
yes,
It's another example there. But you can manipulate that to really improve people's nutrition at the same time. So I sort of turn that on its head by putting really healthy and sort of goal-driven choices in areas. Like I know there's certain
I
areas in
see,
the gym that would get lots of footfall from the players.
really,
So I make sure I set up nutrition stations there.
wow,
So these players are almost walking past the things and they're more likely to take on what they need to because you're manipulating your environment that way. But it's also education as well. But we try and get the majority of that in during our age grade setup. So I'm in charge of under 16s all the way up to the
right,
national team.
right,
Under 16s, there's way more education focus and about building good habits. And hopefully by the time they get to the national squad, they've got a lot of those. So
amazing.
it's definitely more about that facilitation, just making life a little bit easier for the
It's almost
players
like that. It's
and
almost
then
like the
really just
supermarket,
nailing
isn't it?
down
It's
things.
almost like the supermarket.
Uh-huh.
Putting things at people's hands, so people are never hungry, but that everything that they eat is
Mhm.
really healthy. Is that the general idea?
Yeah,
What?
definitely. You get some people that really, I suppose they overanalyze things as a nutritionist, which is something I don't like to do. They really try and push their area onto their athletes. And in my opinion, nutrition shouldn't be something that takes away from your day-to-day job. It's something that should support that. So I don't want these guys really focusing or stressing about what they need to eat on, let's say, the day before a match or
It's
a
good,
match
isn't it?
day. So it's all about making that process easier for
It's
them.
absolutely.
Level anyway.
I mean, I know myself. If you leave it, if I leave it too late, I've discovered in myself that if I leave it too late to go for lunch, when I go for lunch in the supermarket, for example, I'm too
Hmm.
hungry. I'm too
Hmm.
hungry. And that's the danger. That's the danger, isn't it? So I started eating kind of something at about 11. I actually sometimes have a piece of toast at like 11 o'clock in the morning, just so when it comes to
Hmm.
like 12 o'clock or half 12, I'm not starving. Because it's that
Yeah.
sensation of I'm starving. And also with
Hmm.
liquids, I'm not great with, my wife drinks like so many liters of water and she measures it.
Yeah.
How do you measure that? Do you do that with players? Water and that
Um,
kind of thing?
so again, it sort of falls into the environment. Like we hope when our guys come into national team camp, they've got pretty good behaviours. So we've got some suggestions and make sure there's fluids available pretty much everywhere. Like one of my biggest roles is just making sure there's water
It's
everywhere.
simple,
Like we
but
go through about let me think, quick calculation here, 12 liters times like probably 400 liters a day or
really,
something within the
that's
squad.
good.
It's a huge amount of water that the guys drink, and obviously there's a massive operational part of my job in terms of
Getting
making
water
sure that
there.
water's available. Yeah, exactly. Just
Wow.
making sure there's water everywhere. So it seems ridiculous to have 2 degrees and then your job is just being a water
Not
boy,
at
but
all.
that is part
Not
of
at all.
the
It is
job,
a
an
big thing with
important
food.
part
To be
too.
fair, I mean, that's part of my, the weight problem I have. But my wife constantly tells me is not drinking enough liquid and thinking you're hungry when you're thirsty. It's the
Mm,
biggest.
hmm.
That's my biggest thing. I don't drink anywhere near enough.
Yeah.
I think I've maybe had a liter of liquids today sitting at my desk, and I go downstairs and
Hmm.
I wonder why I'm tired and hungry and all that stuff, isn't it? Anyway, that's
Yeah. So like the way that situation would work with our age grade squad. So one of the things we really try and focus on is just making sure they're bringing water with them everywhere, because it's that same thing. If you've got a water bottle with you, good plug there.
yeah.
You're way more likely to drink it. Whereas if you don't bring fluids with you or have it with you in a
Oh
bag,
no,
you're
no,
going to
no,
go
no.
long periods of
Tom, it's
time
fine.
without
I've got a
drinking.
bottle. It's just empty.
Oh, there you go.
No,
You're
it's
fine then.
empty.
You've passed the under 16s module. There you go.
That's good, Tom. I think we'll. So let me just. I'm going to jump to a few more questions. What's your current racket, please?
I can't remember. It's been that long playing.
Really?
It's a Forza. I know that, and it's head heavy. I think it might be a CNTX power something or other, but I can't remember exactly what it is.
Tension. Do you like your strings?
I went through a period of having tension that was way too high because I thought it would make me smash
Yes.
better, and so I've come back a bit. So I've got a bit more control to
Do you
balance
know what
out
it
my
is?
crap
Do you know the
technique.
number? 27 probably.
Oh, I'm
27
not
or
sure.
28, I
Maybe
imagine.
a 20. I think it's 26
26. Yeah,
actually.
that's my
That
guy.
rings a
My guy.
bell. Yeah.
Uh, family life. You know kids or anything like that? Have you, Tom? Have you got kids? No,
No,
no.
I live with my partner. We've been together for 7 years. Hopefully, going to bring a dog into
Yes.
our family very soon.
Yes. What's your favorite event now? So you still doubles. Is doubles your favorite event? Do you think? And do you have a part? Do you have a part,
Mixed.
or is it mixed? Really?
Yeah, mix was something I started playing way more at university, and that was always my
Was it?
favorite. Just because I suppose my best friend during uni, Eula, we got on like an absolute house on fire. So we were mixed doubles partners. So I made the whole thing
That's
a lot
fantastic.
better.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, I've got a mixed partner. I love it. And you become a real team, don't you? It's fantastic. I love it.
Hmm.
And what you like is, do you get angry on court? That was the second last question. Do you get angry on court when are you, what's that like? Are you quite level
So
headed? Are you angry? What?
I used to get angry at myself all the time during my time at uni because I was playing so much and I was just striving to be as good as
Yeah,
possible. But then I had quite a bad injury, and so I started to realize that badminton wasn't really the thing for me or
really,
the main
really.
focus. So I just became a lot more chilled out about it,
Sorry,
and I
when was
just want to
that, Tom?
enjoy my time on
When was
court.
that?
So that was must have been third year at uni. Had a really bad ankle injury. Just the thing blew up like an
Really?
absolute
From
sausage.
badminton?
Um, yeah, so I went up for a jump smash, sort of cross court, and then landed and just went straight over my ankle. So I had I think, some ligament and some tendon damage
Wow,
there as well.
wow.
Again, it's another sort of long term injury, and I had pain in my ankle. In fact, I still get pain in my ankle today, um, occasionally, depending on the sort of surface that
It
I'm
just feels
walking on.
weak, does it?
Yeah, it feels weak, and there's certain areas where it just you get shooting pain. I'm not sure how much of that is psychological, but yeah, it was a bad injury. And then after that, I didn't take it as seriously and just wanted to enjoy
Really?
myself. And even now, I just want to do something a bit physical, enjoy my
You're
time out
probably just
there.
happy to be on court after having an injury. We were put you out of action for so long. You just kind of so
Yeah.
relieved, and you love it, don't you? You know when you're not able to play,
Well,
like it's like coming back from this. I think coming back from COVID, there's going to be so many
yeah.
happy badminton players. You know, everybody be loving it, like proper. Not I can't really be bothered tonight, or I'm so tired. Work's been so busy. It's going to
Uh-huh.
be hyper. It's going to be like badminton on ecstasy. The Nomads Badminton
Yeah.
Club is going to be.
Even more so for me because my thumb's better now as well. So
And last question, can I ask
I'll be ecstatic.
one question that I've got left is what is it you love about badminton over other sports?
Oh, I think it's that whole combination of physicality, technique, hand-eye coordination, and then the deceptive element and the whole game plan. that goes into it. I've seen a couple of rugby players try and play badminton, and it's hilarious because they've just got no concept of a shuttle and the way things go. So you think they all look like absolute specimens on the
Yes.
pitch. Then you put a racket and a shuttle in their hands, and they've got no clue, dancing around like ballerinas.
But then I wouldn't like to see me playing rugby either. To be fair, so that's
Oh yeah, that's a fair
that's
point. Oh, I
I
haven't
know,
thought about
but you're
that.
right. Hand-eye racket sports, hand-eye coordination isn't everybody. Hand-eye
Hmm.
coordination, being able to do that, and it being there is not at all for anybody. Is
Hmm.
that it's
Yeah.
amazing. Anyway, I shall let you get on with your night. So thank you very much for your time, Tom. I know you're obviously really busy at work, and I really appreciate meeting you and chatting to you properly. Because
Oh, no
although
problem at all. It's been great.
I know you're from the Badminton Club, and it's nice to get to speak to you. Yeah, good.
Well, hopefully I'll get to know you a bit more
When
when
you're
I
back
get
on the
back to
badminton
playing.
court, exactly. And I'm
Yeah,
glad you know my brother. I'll
exactly.
definitely go and message Barry now. That's good. Okay,
Yeah, do.
Tom. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you
Cheers.
very
Cheers.
much.